everybody, welcome back to the Show and Tell show. We are in episode 20 something, which is pretty incredible that we've been doing this long. This week we were challenged by Penetanguishene Centennial Museum. Oh, hi, by the way, Jan and Nicole.
Hi.
Yeah, Genevieve, hey Jen, and me, we're ready, but you have to show us first. So what have you got that starts with the letter M?
So what we have is something that you can see, you can hold. You would think it's very real, but it's not very real.
Ooh, can you guys guess what it is?
Oh my God, 20 questions, wow.
I don't think I would guess what that was. So the theme was M for money, or sorry, that's what but as a special kind of money, Beck dollars.
Oh.
So if I put that up, hopefully you can see that. So the museum is housed inside an 1875 general store that was owned by the C. Beck Manufacturing Company. And back in the late 1800s, they had a lumber mill just across the street. And they used to pay all their employees at their lumber mill half their wage in just regular Canadian money and half their wage in Beck money. And so they used to spend their Beck money inside the general store here. So that's why they had the general store here where the museum is, and right beside it was their lumber office. And so this was $1. And then of course we have, 50 cents and 25. We have a 10, which is larger than a 5. We have a 5. And then we even have a penny, which is a different color. And the Beck Company was really employed a lot of people in the area. So this money actually started to be accepted throughout the town and all the other stores as well. It was quite normal for general stores to give away tokens as change, and that then you would have to exchange at their store again. But Charles Beck went that one step further by paying his employees half their wage in it, and it'd be kind of like working for Canadian Tire now, getting half your wage in Canadian Tire money. So it was something that you could practice in the late 1800s, just because there was no Bank of Canada at that time. The Department of Finance is the one that made money, and that was a federal, and it was, it had so many other departments within it. So it didn't really have a lot of control of the money in the small towns. So that's why he kind of get away with it. But once the Bank of Canada was established in 1934, all of those little towns and their money they were giving away kind of stopped. So that is our little artifact for today.
Yeah, I don't think the Ministry of Labor would allow that today.
Not today.
No.
Okay. In the 1800s, with all the monopolies, that was a thing you could do, but not anymore.
Wow, that's really cool. You have that. That's awesome, and you have so many different examples of it, right?
Yes. We even actually in our collection have one from the Thompson General Store too here in town, so that it wasn't just the Becks that gave it out, but we definitely have more of the Beck bucks than we do of the other stores in town. So
cool. Wow. What do we have, Genevieve? Over with the letter M from Herodian Museum.
We have World War I military medals. We've got the Victory Medal and the British War Medal. But I'm going to go back a few years to 1917, when this fella here, Tsar Nicholas II, was deposed by the Bolsheviks and Vladimir Lenin. It's caused some problems while everyone else was fighting in Western Europe. Because the Bolsheviks made peace with the Germans, and the I guess, Allied powers, the British, they knew that in the long term, this would cause problems. This Bolshevik government would cause problems for them. But in the short term, they wanted the Russians and the Tsarist, I guess, government back in the war to help them fight the Germans and the Austrians in Western Europe. So what they did is they agreed to send troops to northern Russia.
Northern
and,
Russia?
That 4,000. Yeah, northern Russia. 4,200 Canadian troops ended up in Vladivostok. And among them was a young man, about 25 years old, named Charlie Hubert White from Midland. And that's him standing in front of his house on 6th Street, newly married. He'd been married for about 2 months. He just turned 25. That's him. And here he is in Russia.
Wow, look at the coat.
There he is. Yes, very warm. Now, the interesting thing about the medal is normally they're all inscribed on this edge. You can't see that here, but they're all inscribed with the regimental number and the name and rank of the fellow to whom it was issued. And the interesting thing is that all of the other medals in our collection say CEF for Canadian Expeditionary Forces, but this medal says CSEF, which is the Canadian Siberian Expeditionary Forces. So because he had enlisted fairly late in the war, in May, the end of May in 1918, he was not sent overseas to France or Belgium, but rather he was sent to Russia. Let's see, I've got it written right here. He departed Canada on November 17th, 1918. So actually after the war had officially ended, and he arrived in Siberia at the beginning of December 1918. Now, these guys weren't really given any permission to engage actively in, any kind of military battles while they were up in Russia. So really all they did was guard supplies that had been given by Allied forces to the Tsar before he was deposed to make sure that the Bolsheviks didn't get them. And then they did a lot of drilling, and they actually kind of seemed to enjoy themselves. It was a fairly large city, although about 90% of it at the time were supporters of the Bolsheviks. So it was probably a bit I'm sure there was a lot of opposition to their being there, but they seem to have enjoyed themselves. They played a lot of soccer. They went to the theater. It seemed to be quite a nice time. They weren't there very long. By June of 1919, he was back on a ship headed for Vancouver. So yeah, he had an interesting time. I know when he came back, he was a cloak cutter. I'm not sure where he worked. He came back as a manufacturer, and eventually he ended up as an insurance agent in Midland. So he seemed to have led a pretty quiet life after his adventures in Russia. And one of the few fellas that could say that, I don't know, he'd been to the Soviet Union, which is pretty exciting adventure for anyone in the 20th century. So that's Charlie Hubert White of Midland.
Oh, and we got to see his medals.
Medals, that's right. Military medals.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jen. Now, next week, I thought this would be kind of fun because we're all home, we're all cooking more and all that. Next week's challenge is a recipe from our community. And I'm sure we have tons in our collections. There's so many community cookbooks from different special interest groups and all of that. So let's see what we can find for a recipe and bonus points for actually making it.
Oh, goody.
What do we get for the bonus points?
Yeah.
I don't, an extra special challenge for the following week.
Oh, well, then why would we want to do bonus points?
Or how about a day with Groot?
Okay,
Yeah, a day with Groot. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you better wear special armor. He's very big. Anyway, okay. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Show and Tell Show. Bye.
Bye.